Here's the moment everybody's been waiting for. The shell diorama for the mermaid creche. This is the artwork that I did with colored pencils, and here it is printed on fabric. Here are my patterns that I made, and that's the back, and the one with the doors is the front. The front is a little bit bigger than the back so that you can glue it on. So here is my artwork on the fabric, all fused together with fast to fuse, which is a stiffener that I use. And that's the back, also fused. And I cut the doors for the shell for the diorama open, but left them attached. And then you need this one long piece that's going to go around the edge, and then that's going to go on top. So the first thing I had to do was zigzag around all the pieces and then zigzag the doors back on. So that looks really good. Then this side piece, you just sew. I wanted to show you how I do it. You just have to keep turning it. It really is pretty easy to do because it's so easy to manipulate this fabric, the fused fabric. So you have to just keep turning it as you're zigzagging along the edge, and just you have to stop every few seconds and turn it a little bit, but it works really, really well. And I did, by the way, paint the fabrics before I started sewing them because it's a little easier to paint it before you sew it all together than doing it afterwards. So now when you get to the corner, I stuck the needle in, and then you just turn this and fold it like that, and then sew that bottom edge. And then my long narrow strip is too long, and I knew that, and I'm going to have to trim that. So I'm just going to trim it right there at the edge, and then you just have to fold that corner and zigzag that closed, and then that's the box right there, and that will get glued on top. So I do want to embellish that a little bit, and this is a paint that I really like that's semi-transparent. It's the pearlescent pink, and I just wanted to put a little highlights onto the shell. Since it's already printed, I don't want to repaint the whole thing, but I do want to add a little bit of sparkle to it, I guess is what I'll say. This paint dries with a very beautiful iridescent sheen to it, so I just wanted to add that on. And after I painted it and it dried, it almost gave it a little bit of a dimensional look, which I really, really liked because of the iridescence on it. Probably can't see it in this light, but anyway, so you want to let that dry. Now I'm going to use my Deco Color metallic marker, which is not meant for fabrics, but I'm breaking all the rules here and using it on fabric because I love the metallic on this. Now I used to have a certain type of oil stick that I used to use called Shiva paint sticks. Now that was probably one of my favorite products of all time, the Shiva paint sticks, the metallics. They were the most beautiful metallics I've ever seen. And then the manufacturer changed and it became a whole different product that I don't even want to use. So I'm trying out different things here. So I'm going to also paint the back of the doors. Now the only thing with using the marker works great and it looks great. The only thing with these markers is they really don't have a lot of paint in them, and you don't want to pay all that money for a marker. They're not super expensive, but they're not cheap either. and you don't get a lot of paint out of them. So to paint those dioramas, if you're making like 6 of them, which I am, you probably need 2 markers, and you'd use up all the paints and the markers. Well, anyways, you get the idea. So I'm coloring the crown, and I did a little coloring on the baby. And next I want to attach my string. It's much easier to do it now before I glue everything together. So this is 4-ply linen book binding thread, which is almost impossible to find, like a lot of things are these days, but I did find it. So here it is. I'm gluing it together. So I glue the bottom first, and then I'm going to put a little glue on one side and position that top piece over it. Now, because the edge of this is so thin on the front, the one that goes, that little arch that goes around the shell, it's a little hard to glue this together because it doesn't have a lot of meat to it, if you know what I mean. It's just so thin, you have to match it up almost perfectly. So wait for that to dry, and then lift up the other side and glue that down. Now, also because it's so thin, that arch that goes over the, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, the part on the front panel that goes around the shell, that's so thin that when you glue it down, it also is a little warped, like see the doors, but I was able to pull them and line them up perfectly. And then I painted the back, and I love the way this came out. It's so nice and neat looking. And for the grand finale, drum roll please, here it is. Is it the cutest thing you've ever seen? Oh my gosh, I just love that. Thank you for watching. See you next time.